Hello everyone, and welcome to this new video. Today we're showing you guys how to work with Illustrator in the most basic steps. Now when I first started with Illustrator, I have to admit, I was scared, I was afraid, and I hated the program. That's right. Someone who's been working with this program for so many years can still hate this program. Yup, it is possible. And I did. But when I started to really understand how it worked, it became, I think, my best program in all the programs that the Adobe suite has to offer. Now in this one, I'm showing you guys some of the basic tools on how to use it. Now, one of the things that I was sent this image from a person, and one of the things that stood out to me and why I choose it to work in this video is because this one is really cool. But it also has the most basic shapes, and some of the shapes that you can tell from this image are the triangle, circle, lines. And that's what we're going to work with, because those are the basic shapes that we're going to work with in this artwork. Now, to start the actual tutorial, of course, we first had to get our canvas up. You'll see me sometimes make a couple of mistakes with the clicking, but that's fine. As long as I still get the work done, that's all that matters. Now, one of the most interesting things is that we're working with CMYK and working with 300 dpi, because my client has told me, or this person has told me, to make it into something that has to go to print for on a t-shirt or something else. So it's highly important to have that set up. Now we're going to use the image. We've imported the image into the graphic, and one of the things that I strictly noticed those basic shapes. So first I had to, of course, make the image smaller because, you know, it's a pretty complicated thing. It's pretty big, and we're only working on an A4 canvas, and when you're importing an image from a device, the images will always be bigger, so you have to make it smaller. Now, one of the most important thing is when you start out is you have to create a new layer that you're going to work on, and you have to lock the other layer. Why? It prevents you from moving the layer underneath. Now, when I first started, I thought, you know what, let's create a moon out of hand. I can already tell you, after I did that, I started to not like it. I tried it a couple of times, but it was just not working for me. It felt cheap. It felt just absolute garbage. So I did remove it a couple of times. I did zoom in as well, like get closer to my canvas to see what I was doing, but it wasn't going the way that I wanted it to be. So I had to do a couple of cut edits. And some of the cut edits that I did was I changed what I was working on. So what I did basically was I kept it so that at least we could look at it. And then I started to first create a line, because there were a couple of lines that I saw in the artwork, and I thought, you know what, maybe I can copy the other one because it would be in the same direction or the same place, but it wasn't perfectly aligned with the other one. So I had to kind of work my way around, because I noticed that it wasn't the exact opposite. It was a little more down, a little different. So I had to change that. And what I did was I did put the other line there because I wanted to have it there, so I knew kind of how to. But in the end, you'll see me change it and delete it later on in the artwork at the end. And what I did then was I grabbed the pen tool again, started to make the other lines. Now, one of the things that I first did was, I thought, let's do it by hand. But then I thought, this is actually not working out. And you know why? Because, yeah, you can do it by hand, but Also, one of the most important thing is here that I show you is that I'm using the fill. The fill is always turned on automatically. Now that's a problem when you're doing designs like these, because hell, it doesn't make any sense, and it just makes no sense. So I had to change that as well. And then I noticed, okay, so these shapes are all supposed to be the same. So I did the top part by hand, but then I thought, if I'm gonna get so many of those triangles, I'm gonna do it easier. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna not do it like this anymore. So at one point, when I noticed that it was just messing up the whole time, I had to use the Command Z tool a lot. I was like, this is not working. This is absolutely not working. I have to change this. This is not going. So what I used was the star tool. Now the star tool has a couple of options, which means you can change the points. Now we only needed 3 because we're working with a triangle, so we need to only have 3 points because a triangle is only 3 points. And then I just kept on copying it. So what I actually did was I used the option tool. Now the option tool, when you click it, it makes a copy of that perfect shape that you just put down. And then I just kept doing that. And that's all that I did. I kept using the same shape multiple times. And that's the trick. Use that same shape multiple times. You can just copy it. Copy and paste it. Use it again and again and again and again. Make it bigger, make it larger, make it the way that it's supposed to be. So I did that, and I kept copying it until I had enough shapes that were perfectly aligned. But of course, I already had some lines put down, so in the end I had to delete those because it wasn't working the way that I was supposed to do. Now the problem here is that they're all filled. Now I have to remove the fill. So what I did was I selected all my shapes and put the fill out, which is by clicking on the triangle thing, on the little question mark thing, and I switched that to off. Then I went back to my thing, clicked in again, went back into my shape tool, and then created circles. Because as you can see, there's a lot of circles in this thing. I think I counted like plenty of them. So that makes sure that you have to use a lot of circles in here. Now circles are easy shapes. They are also just by clicking on the right button and then switch to circle, and then you just drag them on the canvas. Now one of the tools that you'll see me use is left click, but I'm also holding the shift button at one point. I use the Control Z sometimes because sometimes you make mistakes. But I usually prefer to use the shift tool, because with the shift tool, the shape will always stay the same size. Meaning, if I'm using it this way, it's gonna stay the same. It's not gonna move around. It's gonna stay that perfect round circle that we need. Because there are so many circles in this thing. There's tons. All of them have to be created. Now, I'm going to speed this up a little bit because there are a lot, and I keep working on those. And then at one point, I had so many circles that I was done. I had all the circles that we needed, all the circles that were created. Then I was like, okay, let's do the thing. So then I created the shape that we needed for the moons. Now for the moons, what I used, I had a circle and I placed another circle on top of it. Then I used the shape tool, the shape builder tool, and then I removed those lines. I was like, this is doing the way that I want it to be. So I changed that and I moved those over each other, then reused the shape tool to shape it. With the shape tool, you can delete lines and add lines to it. And that is basic of how it works. If I prefer that the way that it looks, that's how I do it. And that's how you do it. So you basically then just copy it and paste it, and then you add it as many as you need. Why did I not do them all differently? Because I felt like in this piece, they all had to be the exact same. It made more sense to me. As a graphic designer, sometimes we make choices based on a person's either feedback, and sometimes we make a choice on our own. And this is one of the choices that I made on my own. Then I went to and changed the size, the width of the lines. And that was also a big part of this piece. Then I went back into the artwork and checked to see if I was missing any lines. Because sometimes when you're designing something, you notice that you're missing a line here and there. One of the things that I missed was the middle line, one little line in the corner, and I was like, okay, I need to add those, so I changed that and added those lines in so that the piece would be fully the exact same as that the person had told me to create it. When that was done, I checked it again, see if there were any more lines that I missed, and I did. I missed another line in the end. And when that was done, all I had to do was change the color. So when you go to your line art on top, you can just switch to any color you like. That's the thing, because these are lines, they're not filled. So you can basically just keep clicking. And that's what I do. And when that was done, the video is done. And that's how easy Illustrator can be. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. There's going to be more. Currently, we're working on several different type of these little videos to inspire you guys to work with your own graphics and to really take that own step. You don't have to be a professional designer to be able to do this. Anyone can do this, as long as you have the motivation and the power in yourself to work on your graphics. And that is something that I want to tell you guys. Because even as a graphic designer, you'll come across things that you would like to design, but you just don't know how to get started. I hope that this video has inspired you to work on your own. Create your own personal graphic that will stun people with their work. Now that I showed you how the pen tool works, it's really simple. The only thing you need to keep in mind is click and click. If you click on the point again, after you've made a line, click on the point again, and it will stop bending. That's something you'll have to keep in mind. But you'll also see that in the video. I keep on clicking it when I do not want it to make a circle. When I want a straight line, I'll click. Do I want it to be a shape? I'll do that. In another video, we'll touch on those little details. Like, how do we make, for example, a flower or something else to put on your logo or something. We'll touch on that, as well as doing text and other shapes. So thank you guys so much for being here. This video was made for Get Wet. And there's more. There's one about Premiere Pro, Photoshop, and more. I'll see you guys the next one. And enjoy watching these videos and learn something. Because teaching is what I like to do. Graphic design, the second thing I want to do. And see you guys the next one. Goodbye.